What's up, everybody? Episode 84 of the show, and I'm back again in Houston, Texas. Of course, you know I'm at War Training Center because they just have all kinds of fighters coming out of that place, and I got to talk to them all. Today, I'm talking to one of the top bantamweight prospects in the country. His name's Keron Reed. Keron, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm chilling.
So, Keron, 6-0. You have not been doing this for a very long time.
Mhm.
And since you started competing in 2018, you were just like tearing through everyone that came your way. You're just tearing through these guys, man. I wanted to ask you before, we dive deep into your AMmy career and just kind of what's next for you. I know there's a lot. I know there's a story there. We'll get to that. I really
Mhm.
wanted to start with a very broad question, and it's why mixed martial arts? Like, what is it about this sport that makes you want to, or makes you eager and willing to sacrifice all of the things that you've sacrificed to do it? You're not getting paid for this, or at least you weren't in the past. You're sacrificing your body, you're sacrificing your time, and God knows what else to just get to the level that you've got to. Why are
Right.
you doing this, man? Why MMA?
I really just started it as something to try. Like when I got out of high school, like I grew up getting into a lot of fights. So I started out boxing, and then like I have some, just like every kid who get out of high school, they have hard hard time wondering what they're gonna do when they get out of high school. Like it's just like a lot of things that go in your mind. So like every time I would go to the gym, like it would just like calm me down. It would relax me, like relieve stress. Like I know I just fell in love with it, bro. Like it's crazy. Like, and a lot of people say that, and I can see why. Like, but like if any, I encourage like a lot of kids who come from my area. Like I tell them, like go to my boxing gym, go to my boxing gym. They'll go and they'll love it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that like they'll look up to me too from seeing that. So I mean, it's just crazy. Like I just can't explain
You
it. Like
just
I
fell
really
into
can't.
it.
Like it's a different feeling. I don't
Did
know.
you, I don't want to ask too many vanilla, boring questions, but it's like, did you do like wrestling or taekwondo or anything like that, like back in the day, or is this just something you just,
I
wow,
probably did karate when I was like 3 years old, but I don't even remember it.
wow, okay, so, for all intents and purposes, you're learning on the fly as you go, and I would have thought that you've been doing like Muay Thai or karate or boxing like your entire life watching you fight. You are a very
Yeah.
technical guy. You're very advanced. And I don't think people really understand what it's like to be around you in that sense, in that combat sense, until they're in there with you. And
Mm-hmm.
it seems like guys find out real quick, like, oh wow, this guy's stronger. He hits harder than I thought. He's
Yeah.
faster than I
Yeah.
thought he would be. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see, man, because like even your early fights that from 2018 that I saw, to as recent as 2020, like you're continually sharpening the axe, you're continually getting
Yeah.
better. And that has to do with your coaching. That has to do with your gym. Can you talk a little bit, Karan, about why is War Training Center such an amazing place? How is it that they are able to just build these killing machines over there? How is that possible? What's the gym like? Talk to me.
So like I started at a different gym, and like I said, I was started as a boxer too. So I mean, I watch a lot of fights. Like I probably watch like damn near every single fight. Like I just watch a lot of fights, and usually the people want to take down the striker, the person who's good at striking. So I always, when I first came in, I started like 2017, and then I remember my first amateur fight. I seen War. Like it was like a fight after my fight, so I'm watching them. I'm watching them come out like they just had a different vibe to them. Man. It just felt like I was a part of it. So but so my coaches, like two of my coaches, left the gym where I was at, and they started their own thing at War, and I went with them. So, but we just been growing like crazy. Like I think when a lot of fighters start getting wins, people started noticing and catching on, and then I invite some people that I train with come down. A lot of people like even Mia, she one of the people I started in high school with her, and I told her about the gym, and she came, and it's just crazy. Like if you see all the athletes we get, crazy. Like it's so many people that y'all don't even know about yet. Like, and they
I'm a big fan of her. I had her on last week. Very very nice lady. Freaking scary. Like just watching her fight, what she's able to do. It's crazy because I'm looking at her and I'm just like, I would right now. This sounds crazy. If you've never seen Mia fight, before you talk smack in the comments,
yeah.
watch her fights and then come back and then you can tell me if I'm dumb. I
So
would put her in Invicta right now and
yeah,
she would smoke people. I know
it's
she would.
usually people will tell me, "Oh, let me come to your gym, let me come train," and I just like I tell them, "All right, I'm gonna hit you up," and I won't
Yeah.
respond to them because I could tell they're like I could tell who's really for real about it, and I seen that she was for real about it. So, and I tell my coach all the time, like, "Yeah, I recruited Mia, like, yeah, like I use her as a bragging tactic."
The introduction I got to War was I was watching Fury and I was watching Santiago fight and I was like, this guy's good as fuck. Like, how come
Yeah.
nobody's talking about this guy? I like
Mm-hmm.
watching this guy fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hit him up one day. I'm like, dude, man, you gotta be on my show. He's just like, sure, dude, cool, let's do it. And then the more research I did, the more homework I did. I talked to Adam. I talked to some of the other fighters. I was just like, yo, man, I need to talk to more of you guys. And one of the guys I wanted to talk with is in your weight class. I want to talk about Josh. Josh Walker, he's another 35er. He's a professional. And for you, being getting ready to make your pro debut, which we'll talk about in a second, I'm assuming Josh is like probably one of the people that you spar with the most. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. Him, Santiago, Josh Altum. I like Kyle. Like he's like my main favorite part because they got styles that I know that could be my kryptonite. So I like to
Sure.
just go. I like, and they all competitive. All of them are competitive, just as competitive as me. I feel like I'm a little bit more competitive though. but but yeah,
I love Josh. He makes me laugh. He's actually really funny.
yeah, he is.
He's really funny. He
Yeah.
makes me laugh, and but more importantly for you, it's like being able to spar with the caliber of guys that you're talking about. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone has that luxury. And
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about like how is working closely with those guys, how has that like affected you, like in like what have you been able to like hone in on and get better at, because you hit on something really interesting. You said stylistically they're all a little bit different, which isn't really much of a surprise, but like is there
Mm-hmm.
something specifically that maybe you weren't so good at, but after being around those guys for a while you really sharpened the axe and you turned a weakness into a strength?
Yeah, I didn't. I never really noticed it, but like when I first came to war, my wrestling was like so trash.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at me and look at me back then, like big difference. I don't even look like the same person when it comes to my wrestling. And I remember I would just do a lot of rounds with Josh because we was the same weight, and I knew his wrestling was so good, and he like got a lot of takedowns on me, like at the beginning when I started coming to war, and then as I trained with him more and more, and even Josh Altum, like he showed me a whole bunch of different type of pointers. Like every time I go with Josh Altum, I learn something new. Like this, so
I
them two.
can't I can't wait for you to get back in there again. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to like set the stage and explain it for people who don't know. So basically, as I alluded to previously, 6-0. You run the table. I think there was like one split that it went your way, but I didn't really understand why it was a split.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
dominated the entire fight.
Mm-hmm.
You looked really sharp. You looked really good. Your opponent, a tough guy, I didn't see it. That kind of surprised me, but the right man won at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to me a little bit? You run the table. You're doing well. You have a pro debut lined up in January of last year, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen. Tell people who aren't familiar or maybe just are unaware, why weren't you able to make your pro debut? And we're going on a year or two of not fighting, and you're the type of guy that isn't going to sit on the sidelines unless something goes on. So can you talk a little bit, Karan, about why you may not have been as active as you would like to have been?
So like a month out of my pro debut, I was like, maybe it's probably like maybe like my first real sparring session. and I was doing like I was just so ready to show everybody my skills. Like I think that was like the peak of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only starting, but that was like the best I've ever been at that time. And then like probably like the last 2 rounds of the day, I threw a right hook at one of my training partners. He blocked it, and then I don't know, my bicep just tore. But I think it was just like a small partial tear at the time. So I just rested for like 2 weeks. I couldn't really do anything. Then it started to feel like good. So then I went to the boxing gym. I had a sparring session at the boxing gym. I probably shouldn't have sparred, but like I'm the type of person that like to get my rounds in before the fight.
Sure.
So I probably shouldn't have sparred, but I did anyway. We did like 4 rounds. We was only supposed to do 3, but everybody at my boxing gym, they're like so good too. So
Mm-hmm.
every time I got like good competition in the room, I'm gonna take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like I love competition. Like I love going against the best people in the room all the time. So we did like a hard 3 rounds. It was like probably like dead even, and so everybody just wanted to see it do a 4th round. We ended up doing a 4th round. And I always say that's how it always happens. Like the last round, and then I just felt it like completely tore. Like probably like 30 seconds left of the last round, I felt it like just completely tore. So I just tried to chill, and I thought about fighting it out. Then like the last 2 weeks, I literally couldn't even just raise my arm like I wanted to. I couldn't extend it, do nothing. So I just had to get surgery.
Did
And
you
then
see like the blood and stuff like pool in your arm? Like when you tear a muscle like
man,
that.
these are my scars from surgery
Oh man.
right here.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
damn.
So like the muscle, you won't really see any blood or nothing, but like the muscle, like go higher up the arm. It'll like say your bicep muscle like right here, and
Yeah.
it'll like start climbing up your arm, like, and you won't be able to like sometimes like it'll look like you'll have like half of a bicep.
So
So
you tear
yeah.
your bicep. What is the process like? It obviously requires surgery to fix. Walk me through that. You go under the knife. You get back, and what did they tell you to do? I'm assuming you're slung up. Like you probably can't do a whole heck of a lot. What are you doing to
Mhm.
not go crazy when you got your arm in a sling?
So I mean, I just play like a whole bunch of video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like I would go to the gym, and it's like a little the elliptical bike. I was just riding that all the time. It was hell.
So and that's for what is the timetable? Obviously, there's like PT you have to do. There's rehab.
Mhm.
Like you have to get cleared. Like what did the doctor say in terms of like when you could get back and go back to your usual activity? What timetable were they giving you?
So it takes like 9 months to fully heal.
Mm-hmm.
But I got fully because I did when I did my therapy, I did like 2 times a week,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 3 times a week. So I was just it's all I had to do. So that's easy. So it took me like maybe like 5.5 months to heal up. And
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna make my debut in August that just passed too. But I had another little small injury. So I was just like I might as well just try to get my body all the way back to 100%. And that's here I am now.
Obviously, it's not entirely up to you. A lot of this answer depends on the opponent that's out there, the promotion, your coaches, etc. But like, do you have a guess as to when that pro debut will eventually happen? Like, are you looking at like springtime, summer? What are
Uh,
you thinking?
it's gonna be next month.
Next month?
Yeah, next month.
Oh, geez. Well,
Yeah.
can you talk about it or no?
I mean, I don't want to jinx it because I've had like the past 3 weeks I've had like maybe 7 opponents
Oh my God.
and I haven't. So I guess when they tell them the promoter go to the fighter and be like, "Oh, it's a debut," and then they'll say yes, and then they'll look up who the debut is, and then all of a sudden we won't hear from him anymore. So
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want one of my fighters to fight you.
yeah,
I mean, so in a way, I kind of understand it, but there's also that part of you where it's like, no, I'm ready to go. Give me the opportunity. I hope that happens for you, man. I really do. And, obviously, there's not a lot of talk about if you don't have an opponent lined up. I hope that happens soon, but I kind of want to, like, also reflect back a little bit on you being undefeated because number one, it's
Yeah.
rare. I don't really talk to a lot of people that went through their entire AMI career undefeated. That's rare. That doesn't really happen. And one of the first questions, and in a way, I'll be straight with you. In a way, it kind of becomes a red flag to me, and here's why. Until I do my homework. When I look at it, the very first thing I see, the very first thing, I'm like, okay, is this guy fighting cans? Number one. That's what I got to know. Is he only taking easy fights? What is the caliber of the guys that he's fighting? I look at you, you're fighting, there's like one guy that was kind of a scrub, everyone else is good. So I'm like, okay, so he's fighting good.
Yeah.
They're lining him up, quality fights. Okay, cool, got it. The second time I look is like I go on YouTube, I go through the fights, I see every second that's out there that I can on you, and I try identifying like, does this guy ever encounter adversity in the ring? And if he does, how does he respond to it? What does he look like? And I didn't really see a whole lot on you. I didn't see there. I can't recall a time where I'm looking at a fight where I'm like, he's in trouble, he's in trouble, he's in trouble. So I sit and when I think about all that, I'm like, okay, the opponent's check out. He's very technical. He's very advanced. I don't really see him getting at problems. So then I sit back and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, when you know you're good, it's like, how do you have that humility? How do you stay humble? And how do you continue to learn? Because there's always that kind of thing where some guys, they kill it, right? They crush it. They go 7-0 in their AMI career. They make their professional debut. You know, nobody can tell them anything. They got a big head. They walk into their pro debut, and then before you know it, they're 2-3 fights in the hole, and their career's set back before it even started. They got to dig out 2 to 3 years now. So how do you like stop that from happening to you? And like, kind of, what's your disposition to all that stuff I just kind of said?
See, that's why I think good coaching and good training partners come in. Because like, if you know me, bro, you know I hate losing. Like that's one thing. Like I lose if I lose in a video game, I'm heated. Like
Sure.
like I just hate losing. So when I'm in practice, I got a lot of good. Even so, when I'm in practice, like I got so many good training partners, and they're all good. So if you just take one look, if you take your foot off the gas for maybe like 2 weeks, you're gonna know it like inside the training room because like. Because everybody in the gym be on it. I could say that for sure now.
And is there like one thing? So you said it comes to like coaching to like keep you grounded, keep you humble. I assume Adam is Adam your main coach?
Yeah, one of them.
Okay. Like, what is your relationship with them like? Like how does it work for you? And this is something that Mia and I hit on, and it was kind of like this. This is kind of what we settled in on. She was just like, the coaches have their own unique relationship with everybody because everybody's different. So it's slightly different. Like, you know, what they might say to one fighter in a corner, they may not say to another, and that can be expected because we're all different. We have different personalities, et cetera, et cetera. When you're on the stool and they're giving you advice in between rounds, like, are they like being super blunt with you, like, dude, like that round was trash, or like, dude, that round was good? Like, what is that interaction like with your coaches when you're fighting and getting coached in between rounds?
I'm locked in the whole training camp. So like I'm talking like you can ask Adam yourself, like anything explain to me, he'll have to show all he gotta do is say the word and I'm on it. Like I soak all this up like a sponge. Like so when we go out for a fight, I just tell him sit back and relax, and just sit back and relax. Like I got it. Like, and then if anything, he has to tell me. He'll just remind me of the things that I usually do in practice that I'm not doing. That's what it's been most of the time. It's probably been like one fight. He was trying to tell me something, and I didn't really understand. And he literally like stood up on the stool and demonstrated the move, and I knew what it was, and it got me out the position that I was in.
Does he ever not wear flip flops to a fight, or is that just his thing?
I've never seen him. I've never seen him not wear flip flops.
One of the things that I think is really interesting, particularly about your weight class, 135, you are a type of guy. You're a very special fighter. and I know you are going to go to the highest levels of the sport, whatever that looks like. I know it's going to happen. You just see it. Like I'm not a fighter, I'm not a coach, obviously, but I tell you one thing I do. I look at hundreds and hundreds of fights all the time, and every once in a while, like somebody will leap out at you, and you're that guy that like leaps out. Like that's how good you are. I know you're gonna get to like the highest level this sport has to offer, but your weight class, like particularly when you look at like the highest levels, it's crowded, man. Like how do you like get the attention in the 135 weight class? Like that's got to be really difficult to do, because it's not just so much are you winning or losing. It's like you have to like number one fight the biggest scariest dudes that are out there, and number two you have to like put on exciting shows to get people's attention at your weight class.
Yeah, that's why I always say like performances are everything. So I mean, when I'm getting to the point where like I don't think about winning or losing. I just think about having a good performance. And if you have a good performance, you lead a building no matter what. Like knowing I did the best I could do. So I don't really think about winning or losing. As far as the UFC fighters at the 35 division, I probably see like I would have to say like 3 or 4 people who just impress me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause I know like I haven't been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
So as I start growing and growing, I see myself pass up a lot of people just on the local scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no doubt in my mind that I'll do the same.
I see it. I believe it, and I wanted to kind of like pause a little bit and shift gears, because we hit on something that was really interesting. And before I hit the record button, and there's a lot of people out there, man, that with the explosion of mixed martial arts, right? Everyone wants to try it. I think a lot of people fall in love with the idea of like being a fighter and living the fight lifestyle. And you and I were talking about it, and what, 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000 people can actually do this. And what are some of the things that you have sacrificed and given up in order to do this? Like, can you tell people, like, what does this mean? Like, what are you having to do behind the scenes that people don't see? People only see the 9 minutes. They don't see the camps. They don't see all the other things that you're doing to get ready. What are some of those things that you would tell people, like, if you want to fight, man, like, this is what your life's got to be like. This is what you got to give up.
So it's funny, like me and my friend was just talking about this the other day. Like I remember when I first decided to start fighting and I told him that he didn't think I was gonna be able to do it because how much commitment it take. And like I didn't used to even believe in hard work. Like I didn't used to believe in none of that. Like so when I started this, like I really found out what hard work really was. Like it taught me this whole game, like it taught me a lot. Like that's why I love it so much. Like it taught me so much. It taught me so much about myself, everything. I say like any fighter, like I think that's like one of the purest forms of knowing who you really are. Like when you get in a fight, like you're back against the wall, like you know who you are on the inside. But like you gotta sacrifice fun. I'm like going to sleep 9:30 p.m., 10 o'clock sometimes, waking up early. When you get up, you don't feel like it, you gotta go. And nobody's forcing you to do it either. Like, cause like if you're gonna be a shitty fighter, you can just be a shitty fighter. Like
Right.
Nobody's forcing me to do this. Like it's not like it's not a football team or basketball team where others holding you accountable. Like you gotta wake up and do it yourself. Like
Yeah. And, you know, hey, you're the one that's got to get out of bed at 6 a.m. and run 7 miles. Nobody else. And, you know, nobody else is really going to hold you accountable and do it. And do it. Like, if anything, it's probably at a point where it's like if your cardio is not on point, like then you'd get yelled at and then you'd get found out. But it's like you have to put in a lot of this work on your own, I would imagine. Like,
Then it's other.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's other fighters that's gonna do the things that the coach want them to do, so they're not gonna have time to hold you accountable. We all grown men at the end of the day, so it's not a high school team.
This is like a sport that's like unforgiving, like in a way. It's like you have to be locked in physically, obviously, but like mentally too. And if you're not locked in, if you're not disciplined, you're going to get found out. Best case scenario, you just get found out. Worst
Yeah.
case scenario, you get seriously hurt or killed. It's one of those things like you can walk into the cage one man and leave a very different person, and I don't mean that in a good way. I mean the injuries are real. Like you sustain a critical amount of damage, and you might not ever be the same guy. When you get ready to like make that walk and go into the octagon, like or the cage, I should say, like how do you distance yourself from that stuff like mentally, like what do you do to prepare, because when you start thinking about all that stuff, that's how you get that stuff is not helpful at that point in time. That stuff's going to jam you up, it's going to make you overthink things, it's going to make you fight scared. You're not going to do well that way. So like when you prepare mentally, getting ready to make that walk, like what are some things that help you kind of stay focused on the task at hand?
I feel like I get all my mental, all the things that go into my mental. I think I get all of them from the training camp. Really, like I'm putting myself in the worst positions in training. I'm running the miles I need to run. I'm gonna wake up and do everything I got to do. Like I'm not no slouch, no nothing. I'm not lazy, none of that. Like I'm gonna make sure I got everything on point before I step in that cage. Because like you said, like your family out there watching, like that's one of my mom. That was one of her number one things when I started fighting. She did not want to see me fight because she used to be like, "I don't want to see you get hit and get hurt." I used to tell her like, I'm not gonna get hit, mom." Like
Yeah.
I tell my mom like, I'm not gonna get hit. And literally, I went out there, had a fight, and I didn't get touched the whole time. And that's when she started loosening it up. She started seeing how good I was. But that's why I say you got to take this game serious. I don't play. I don't play. Like when it comes to this, I do not play. Like
When you get ready to make your professional debut, I feel like it's safe to say there's going to be a lot of high expectations, right? In the amateur scene, you went undefeated. You're fighting the best guys in your area in Houston. You're doing very, very well, and like you're at a very high profile gym. At least in my opinion, a lot of people might say like, "Oh, well, they're not a big gym," but the results speak for themselves. Like people are starting to find out, and with that kind of comes like higher expectations, right? Fury FC, that's right in Houston. It's probably, I'm going to say it's probably highly likely you'll go through there at some point in your career because it's a local promo. A lot of your fighters go through there. And you're well known, right? So when you make that pro debut, people are going to be expecting, they're going to be expecting you to walk in there and just take care of business. But now, and I'm not saying you can't, I know you can, but we're at a higher level of competition. There's pressure, right? Like there's pressure on you to deliver. And when you think about all that stuff, when you think about those high expectations, how do you manage those? Like how do you not let that kind of get to you? Because I feel like you're probably like the mayor of Houston and everyone already knows who you are, right? You're not just this anonymous dude that's going to walk in the cage. Everyone in Houston knows who you are. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I feel like it's more of a bad thing than it is a good thing. Like because I feel like they're gonna find out who I am eventually, anyways. But
Yeah.
now that so many people know me now, like it's like harder to get fights. Like so, I haven't fought in like 2 years. So most people will come back off a 2 year layoff and go fight like a scrub or something,
Sure.
fight somebody. I can't get one of them. Like none of them will fight me. So I'm coming like straight. I'm fighting. Supposedly, I should be fighting this dude. He's from also big gym. Factory, it's Mortai, if you ever heard of them.
Oh, I yes, I know them.
He's from there too, and he's the style that people think that is my kryptonite wrestling. Like, so.
Well, we'll see.
I'm ready for it.
I hope it happens. I hope that bout comes to fruition. I wanted to ask you one kind of like last question. I wanted to get your perspective, just kind of your thoughts as a fighter, or maybe like as a businessman, or maybe a fan in general. Sean O'Malley, right? He's in your weight class, 35er, a guy that I'm sure you talk about with your friends and stuff all the time. And there's a lot of criticism on him, right? Not that he's not a good fighter, but he's criticized repeatedly about maybe not fighting the highest caliber opponents that he could that he could be. Is he smart for doing what he's doing from a businessman perspective, or is he just kind of, in your opinion, taking easy fights and padding his record?
So, so when you in the moment, thinking as a fighter, you look at him and be like, like you try to brush him off a little bit. But like at the end of the day, you got to think about yourself, your family, and your career. So I can't really hate on him. I can't say he's doing the wrong thing. He's like looking out for himself and his family, trying to make the most money that he can. It just depends what your goals are in the sport. But I wouldn't say he's doing that wrong.
I think he's being prudent personally. I think it's a business situation. He's just like, hey, listen, man, like I'm not gonna fight these like tough guys unless you're gonna pay me appropriately. I'm not going out there for I have no idea what he makes, but let's just say it's like 15 and 15. I know it's not, but that's why I said it. Let's say it's like I'm not fighting shit. Like I'm not fighting these guys for 30 grand, man. I'm not doing that. Like you're gonna have to pay me to fight some of these guys in 35, because that's very quickly now. It's like that you could make an argument between that and 55 for the deepest division in the UFC for sure.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing I would say is I don't like the talking. I don't like the talking that he does. Like
yeah.
So like I understand what he's doing, but I just don't like. I'm big like on people like fat. It's a lot like because a lot of people are not into. They don't know the insides of what goes on in the combat sports, and so like I got a lot of people that come up to me. Oh, what you think about Sean O'Malley? That's like he the best fighter in the UFC. Shit like that. I'm like, bro, chill out. Like, nah.
No, I would go this far. Like I think he's very talented. I respect his game. I think he's talented. I think if Aljo fought him, he'd have a hard time.
I think Aljo would be.
I think so too. I think it would be convincing too, because Aljo is so fast. I think he'd pounce on him. He's like, no, like you're not going to have distance on me to throw your kicks. This isn't going to be a striking battle. Like I'm taking you down to the ground, and he hasn't really been tested on the ground quite yet. Keron, man, always good chatting with the talent at War Training Center. I really want to see more of you, man. Like, I want to see what's next. I'm really eager to see your professional debut. I know it's coming up soon. But you're a very talented fighter, man. Like, you really are. I hope I can have you back on the show again, because you're the type of guy that I feel like more people need to know about. You're a very special talent. I want to see more. I also want to give you the last word to kind of shout out whoever you would like to before we wrap.
Yes, I want to give a shout out to my team, War Training Center, Adam Copley, Jeremy, all my training partners at War, everybody who support me. Yeah, we got the debut coming up soon next month, so I'll be announcing it soon if the contract gets signed, and we're back in business. I'm back active all 2022.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get on this train while you still can. The sky's the limit for this guy. Very, very special, very, very talented fighter. I'm going to go ahead and when you're watching this video, look at the description section. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw some links up there for some of his fights that are already on YouTube that are just something you need to check out if you've never seen this man fight before. Keron, I really appreciate your time, man. I hope I can have you back soon.